now, the host of Aaron's Hour, Aaron Phillips.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, depending upon the part of the world that you're in. Thank you for making me part of your day. Aaron Phillips coming to you from Virginia Beach. That's right, the East Coast affiliate location of WWDB TV. Of course, if you're watching us on Facebook, thank you so very much as always. Of course, catch us on YouTube. If you like YouTube better, that's cool. And if you do, make sure you hit that little bell so that you're reminded when our shows are available there on YouTube on both the Aaron's Hour show page and the WWDB TV YouTube page. And of course, on Facebook, well, you're already there on the Aaron's Hour show page. And of course, WWDB TV Las Vegas is the Facebook page. And then in a couple of days, when John decides to get around to it, you'll be able to go to the Roku streaming service and you can look up the WWDB TV network right on Roku. And not only check out all of my shows, but the plethora of options of the plethora of shows that are there to give you a plethora of ideas of the type of plethora of topics, one with which you can have to enjoy here on the network. So there's a lot to pick from. Listen, you know, it's good to be back on the air with everybody. Last week, I want to thank my friend Richard Morris. Yeah, I know you guys last week, you saw the re-air episode of the show that I did with him the week before. That's because I was out in Las Vegas last week. That's right. I was out there with my friends, my homies, my 3-month return. Wrestle Connect, Scott Hosey and company. I was honored again to be asked to come back and host that show with all some wrestling greats and vendors and seeing all my wrestling community friends. And I spent the week out there seeing my dad and seeing family and friends, including one JPEG Styles is back there in Las Vegas pushing all the buttons. Had an opportunity. What's up there, bud?
Hey, bud.
You know, after 3 months, I wasn't used to seeing you in hold. This is all I was used to seeing was just like that Max Headroom face of yours, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's nice catching up with you after 3 months. It seemed like it had been.
Yeah, it was nice seeing you. You and Rick and what's that other guy's name? Yeah,
Mal?
George. Yeah,
it was
nice. It was nice having breakfast and nice seeing Eileen. And so
yeah, she could.
So is it raining? Is it raining back there today?
No, it rained the whole. No, I'm telling. Thank God the weather's been great. The week that I was back there in Vegas, it rained like Dickens out here. That I was watching my pool water get so close. One of the first things I did when I got back was I had to set up the sump pump to get water out of the pool. But I'm pleased to say the grass is nice and green again. We had a little stretch where it started turning, but the grass is nice and green. No rain. Temperatures in the mid-70s. It's actually rather nice right now. Maybe a little rain overnight next couple of days, but thank goodness nothing too terrible. We had a great week of weather there in Vegas. The weather was hot the first couple of days, but then it settled down into the mid to upper 80s the last couple of days. We're actually
it's getting nice now.
Yeah, this is a good time. That weather is nice. But let me tell you something, John. That time difference of 3 hours, so really kicked my ass because after 27 years of being 3 hours behind the East Coast and getting used to that, I then moved here and shift to losing those 3 hours, and the body took a long time to still get used to realizing that it may say, oh, I don't know, 12 o'clock my time here, but 9 o'clock your time, like we have to do to coordinate the show. And then here I am only 3 months later, getting on a plane, flying back to Las Vegas and giving back those 3 hours. Let me tell you, when we got there that Friday, we got in the car. It was about 4:30 to drive to meet my dad for dinner. It was only about 4:30 Vegas time. And I turned to Eileen in the car and I said, looking at the clock, babe, it is only 4:30 here Vegas time, but you know my body's saying, why are you out in your car at 7:30 p.m.? You know, and it wasn't until about Wednesday night and Thursday night were really the best 2 nights sleep we got when our body finally started adjusting. So much for that. We
had to fly back.
We left Vegas. I think our flight was around 12:30 Vegas time. We left. We actually pulled out from the gate on time, but we sat for 15, 20 minutes before we actually took off out of Vegas. He made up time. We landed 15 minutes early here. So we actually got in about 8:30 East Coast time. By the time we got picked up by my daughter and her boyfriend and got back to the house, I think we were in bed by about 10 o'clock local time. And I'm still trying to, because now Wednesday I'm on a plane. Last Wednesday I was on a plane to Orlando. I just got back from Orlando. John, what is going on with all this airfare? I got to get my travel arranged. I got to get a better travel agent.
Well, you need to get something with travel miles, air miles or something. Yeah.
The thing is, when I book these flights to go, I'm using different airlines. So I'm putting miles on different companies. I can't even use one. Anyway, Good to be back in the saddle. Listen, we got a guest today that I was reading some of his material and getting to watch some previous interviews. His name is Win Shartow, and this man is all about AI and meta and cybersecurity, a lot like what Mac does on his show, I guess.
Yeah.
And perhaps at some point we could connect Mac and Win down the line, and they can have a conversation. But this gentleman,
why would you want to do that to somebody that you just met?
Well, yeah, it's true.
No,
Sorry,
no,
Win. I'll apologize when we bring him on.
I love Mac.
I know we love Mac. Win wrote a book. His latest book is called The Art and Science of Meta War: How to Coexist with AI-Driven Reality Distortion, Disinformation, and Addiction in the Metaverse. There you go. There's a cover of his book, now available on Amazon, and we'll bring up the link. Win just sent me a comment saying that United Airlines owns him. So
I saw.
I've got Southwest, I've got Breeze, I've got American Airlines. It all depends. But so we'll talk. We have the link to the book ready on the crawl. We'll show that when we bring Win on in a little bit. So we'll talk about that and an interesting conversation he had with Congress in 1991, where he coined the term electronic Pearl Harbor. So that within itself lends itself to some great conversation. So we'll bring Win in here in a few minutes. But first, as always, it is time for Vegas Unwrapped 2.0.
With a nod to the past and an eye to the future, here is Aaron Phillips with Vegas Unwrapped 2.0.
By the way, happy birthday and anniversary to Batman, 85 years young last weekend, and the first superhero to get a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. John, did you know that?
No, I did not know that.
So all you people who pick Superman over Batman, Superman don't even have a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So stick that in your.
They have to pay for their stars. You know,
I don't care. I don't care.
And the only reason Batman has one and Superman doesn't is because Batman is a billionaire.
Well, that's okay. That doesn't mean Superman couldn't get the Daily Planet to sponsor his. Come on now. There's always branding, right? Isn't that what we always talk about?
Yeah. It's an ego trip.
It's an ego trip. Exactly. All right. So let's get started with some news from Vegas. Of course, as always, I like to start with some winners. You know, unfortunately, Vegas was not built on losers. It was built on losers. Was not built on a ton of winners. But that's okay because, believe it or not, there have been some winners, and it's crazy thinking about how much that you can bet or how little you can bet and end up really walking away with a ton of money. John, you ready for this?
Sure. Hit me.
A gambler from Texas hit a jackpot over at Binion's. You're going to see a little trend with some of these because some of these winnings are all downtown, which is kind of interesting. Yeah, a lot of them are downtown. Even when I was at the airport waiting to come home, you know, what's interesting is I was kind of, hedging my bet because I read all these stories about people that are winning in the airport, right? I mean, there's a locked-in audience. Odds usually are not very good at the airport, but I'm sitting there looking at a machine but I've been reading about all these winners in the airport and everything, and I'm like, but I chose not to play anything in the airport. But this individual sat at a smoking hot stuffed Wicked Wheel slot machine at Binion's on the 16th. They bet $3.20, hit a spin and watched the symbols flash across the screen until they were alerted that they won $10,145 on the $3 bet. That's right.
Bad.
A Las Vegas resident bet $5 on a Dragon Link Golden Century slot machine, also at Binion's. They bet $5, and on the 12th of September, they walked out of there $14,000 richer.
Cool.
I wonder if Win will be able to tell us how you can manipulate the slot machines to win through AI. Is that legal?
No.
Well, listen, he's only going to tell us it's going to be amongst just the three of us. I mean, nobody else will know, right? I mean, geez Louise. All right, here's another one. This was at the Mohegan Casino. I didn't realize there was a Mohegan Casino. It's 2 miles east of the Strip somewhere. I didn't even realize that.
I have no idea.
Yeah, well, that's all right. One player bet at $3. Oh, wait a minute. That was the wrong one. The Mohegan one. Sorry, let me go back. Ultimate Explosion slot machine also at the Mohegan Casino on September 19th bet $1.88, John, and walked out with $23,000 for $1.88. That's not bad.
You need to think about this for a minute, okay?
Yep.
Imagine how many people had to lose for that person to win.
Right. That's why we listen. How many people had to lose, right? Plus, how many $1.88s did this person? I always say that it's great that they won in one spin, but how many $1.88s did they put into that machine in their lifetime to get that $10,000 or $11,000 back? Let's see. Another gambler.
It's like a savings account.
Exactly. Remember the old Christmas club accounts that would come due every year?
Yeah.
That's what it's like. That's what it's like. All right. Down at the Suncoast, $3 bet was placed on a slot machine, and this person won $11,000. And then down at Sam's Town, $1 scored somebody 10 grand. See,
wow.
So you don't have to be in it a ton to win it.
Yeah.
So that's good. All right, I have some Amazon news. One specifically to Vegas, one just generally speaking. Let's talk about the general. You know, twice a year, Amazon always do these Prime deal days, right? Special deals by, right? Usually they're around the holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Cyber Monday, or whatever. Well, apparently they have the Amazon's Prime Big Deal Days coming up October 8th and 9th. Now, unlike other sales that they do where it's good as long as you have an Amazon account, this is only if you have Amazon Prime. If you don't have Amazon Prime, then you cannot qualify. But it's easy to get an Amazon Prime account. You just log on for a regular free Amazon account, and then you have the option for Amazon Prime. There's like a monthly membership or annual membership, whatever it is. If you shop a lot, though, on Amazon, you want the Prime because it does save you on shipping.
Yeah. I've got the Prime membership because, you know, especially with all the stuff that I buy for the studio, it has saved me. So.
Absolutely. It does that. Plus, you can get access to Amazon Prime movies and videos if you have the Amazon stream that non-Prime members have. So that is October 8th and 9th. You get, like I said, just go on to Amazon.com, fill out for a free account for free, and then simply go on over and create a Prime account. Now, here's where I'm going to localize the Amazon story to Vegas. Okay, I'm not going to get into too many details I want to protect some of the innocent here, but an Amazon truck driver recognized by Amazon for saving a 7-year-old boy who was lost on a Las Vegas street.
Wow.
So he was lost because he was directed to getting on the wrong bus after school. Y'all can read in between that all you want to. And so what happened was that the parent, and I will not give the parent's name, the parent's first name is Chris, that her son, and I will not say the son's name for protection, was dropped off incorrectly by a school bus driver following the first day of school. School district police staff and worked to locate him, yada, yada, yada. Okay. Now, while the boy was wandering around for nearly an hour, he sat down on a curb in the triple-degree heat until Amazon truck driver Lavelle Moore noticed him. He pulled over and he said to the young boy, he says, "Hey, little man," Moore said, "are you okay?" And the young boy said he was lost, but thankfully remembered his mother's phone number, which he called from the Amazon truck driver's phone while he was inside the truck out of the heat. Following the incident, an Amazon spokesperson confirmed that Moore is indeed employed by the company and acknowledged the incident, adding that he would be recognized for his actions during a celebration with his team by Amazon. And the mother was thankful that Moore spotted her son and intervened and got involved. So thank you, Amazon. Great job.
So there was a follow-up to that story.
Oh, okay, good.
And the driver was fined because he was late on his deliveries that day.
Is that true? No, you're meant. Get the hell out. John, you just twisted a feel-good story into something that was not feel-good. So, man, oh, man, oh, man. All right. A couple other stories, then we'll get to our first break. Now we're going to bring it.
That's what you get for asking me to stay on.
I know. That's I know. I'm a glutton for my own punishment. Now I got a couple of stories regarding Norfolk here. We come coast to coast. After all, that is the little additional byline here. The community here in the Norfolk area is asking to provide input for the future of some of Norfolk's trails that are throughout the city there. Norfolk's Park and Recreation Department, they're drawing up new trails master plans, and they want input before at their next open house as to what the residents want to see designed in these trails. Trails like the Elizabeth River Trail see a lot of foot and wheel traffic. It's estimated that over 600,000 people use the ERT, the Elizabeth River Trail, each year. It stretches over just over 10 miles, and it's become a jewel in Norfolk's crown, helping to bring redevelopment to certain areas of the city. Now, recently, this past week, there was a community open house this past Tuesday at two different locations, at Lambert's Point Community Center, at the Norview Community Center. And even though those are past, you can reach out to the Norfolk Community, the Norfolk's Park and Rec Department for your input. Now, what is it they want to look for? They want to look for things like whether people want to see fitness stations, interpretive signing, wayfinding, just different things that people want to see who walk the trail. What's going to keep them entertained? So I think that's great that Norfolk is asking for their input into their development of future trails that are down in that downtown area. Now, lastly, tourism. Vegas. We always talk about tourism on this show. Everybody talks about the 40 million people that go out to Vegas every year. And actually, John, it was quite an out-of-body experience when I was there because I felt like a tourist. We walked from the Tuscany over to the Link, and we walked the Link and did all. It was like, I felt like a tourist. Anyway, check this out. Now, a new report shows spending in Norfolk reached $1.4 billion since 2022. That's a lot of money in 2 years to be coming in here. According to the Virginia Tourism Corporation, tourism in the state generated $33.3 billion in visitor spending, putting it at a 10% increase since 2022. Last year, Norfolk spiked at 12,500 jobs in the hospitality and tourism industry, which is the highest number to date. Out of those jobs, more than 8,000 are supported by outside visitor dollars.
Do you think it has anything to do with the Navy being there and the ships and people coming in to see the ships and stuff?
It's, you know what? Yes, that's part of the tourist attraction. So there are 5 areas that they say that they're looking for. So the categories include the 5 categories that this was calculated on by visitors was recreation, transportation, lodging, food and beverage, and retail. Transportation was the top category, making $614 million in visitor spending over the last 2 years. Okay. Now, one area that I'm purposely glossing over that they are expanding, you mentioned ships, but not the Navy.
UFOs.
No, that's over there by you. Carnival Cruise Lines now goes out of Norfolk. They have cruises now, and now they're expanding the Port of Norfolk. You can take different itineraries aboard the Carnival Sunshine, which is one of their newest ships for the Carnival line. 4 to 7 day cruises to Bermuda. They have 5 to 7 day trips to the Bahamas with stops in Nassau, Celebration Key, and Grand Turk. And there are longer stays available as well, 8-day sailings through Eastern Caribbean ports and throughout Canada. So Carnival cruise ships. Now, of course, the Navy having its establishment here with downtown with the ships, and they just had I know as you have, I'm blanking on it, but they just had a air show here out at the naval base. The Blue Angels were out here this last weekend, and we're just about there. So a lot of stuff going on. Put Norfolk, Virginia Beach, Chesapeake. Listen, it's a great destination spot. All right, with that, I know I ran a little long.
Isn't Virginia for lovers?
It can be. Of course it is. That is their state motto, right? Is it on the sign behind me somewhere? No, it's not on there. We got to get that on there. All right, with that, we're going to step aside for our first break. A little long on the first break. We'll apologize to my guest, Win, when he comes on, because I want to make sure we have a lot of time.
You should probably call him to wake him up, make sure he's awake after all that. So
I know. I was asleep too, so wake me up first. All right, with that, you're watching Aaron's Hour. My guest, Win Chartow, will be on right after the break. We'll be right back.
Are you feeling overwhelmed or stressed? Remember to take a moment for your mental health. At the Mental Health Moment, we believe in the power of self-care and community support. Our mission is to encourage and empower individuals across generations to prioritize their mental well-being. Our program called CARE takes you through community, awareness, resources, and education so we can support you every step of the way. Join us at the Mental Health Moment. Visit our website or follow us on social media because your mental health matters. Remember, take a moment for your mental health.
This is the story of one man's incredible journey from 350 to 200-pound weight loss and his mission to help and inspire others. Aaron Phillips. People are praising Aaron's new book with 5-star reviews. Aaron's various humorous and wildly entertaining stories portray his rise as a sports announcer, his encounters with exotic and irregular entertainers on the Las Vegas Strip through his long-running Vegas Unwrapped radio show, and his contagious and positive style of pursuing success. Call now or visit our website or Amazon now to get your copy of Let My Voice Speak to You, stories from a Hall of Fame radio personality. Order now.
All right, welcome back. No, there's no UFOs in Norfolk. With that, what a great intro. Let's bring in our guest. Win Shartow joins us from Nashville, Tennessee. There's no North. Are there UFOs in Tennessee there, Win?
I've never seen one here.
That you know of?
That I'm aware of, not here.
That's right. That's right. My good friend Red Skelton, Brian Hoffman, does a show down there. He is the #1 recognized Red Skelton impersonator, and he's down there in your neck of the woods. Actually, I think he's over in Pigeon Forge. I don't think he's in Nashville, but some will say he's a UFO. Anyway, with that, Win, thank you for joining us today. Win Shartow, he's an author of a book titled The Art and Science of Meta War, How to Coexist with AI-Driven Reality Distortion, Disinformation, and Addiction in the Metaverse. And I was reading the sample that, and first of all, shout out to Latanya, your publicist. She and I communicate an awful lot, and I appreciate her line of communication with me as well. She supplied me with a little bit of sample of the book, and as I was reading the sampling, you know, it's interesting because when we think of AI and we think of how we are controlled by what we read and see and all that out there now, didn't TV and movies do all that back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s before computers even became a thing with AI and programming and all of that? I mean, aren't we always kind of influenced by what we see out there?
Absolutely. Well, #1, thanks for having me on. You know, it's funny. People talk more and more recently about the metaverse and AI and all this stuff. And part of the point of the book and the thesis is that the metaverse has really existed, in my way of looking at things, for, we'll say 50,000 years. Because the metaverse is about creating an immersive experience that is believable based upon a narrative. It's all about storytelling. And the storytelling can be sitting around a campfire and scaring the bejesus out of a bunch of kids. It can be reading an incredible book and getting fully immersed in it, watching TV. And none of these really require what we would consider today to be advanced technology. It's all about getting involved in the story. And the more involved you are in the story, the more believable it is, and the more that you are ultimately influenced by it.
Absolutely. And I think that's why, you know, I love the campfire example. I mean, we try to influence others in storytelling and conversation and what we believe in. I mean, we can see, and this is the only time I'm going to say this P word, and that's politics. When we hear and read what's out there, we choose to be influenced or can be influenced by what others are saying versus our own beliefs. But I love the idea of storytelling, when I think that's a great word. And I love the word. And I talked about this in the intro earlier. In your book, you referenced that in 1991, you were called to Congress and you used the phrase electronic Pearl Harbor. Talk about that. Paraphrase that a little bit to what you meant by that in that meeting.
Well, again, this is super early days, pre-AOL, pre-everything. And I had this idea that ultimately the world of cyber, information superhighway, whatever term you want to use that was in vogue back in the late 80s and early 90s, was ultimately going to be weaponized and used as a warfighting mechanism, a warfighting terrain, if you will. And I was called by Congress to come in and give some opinions on that. And I discussed what the capabilities were. It wasn't about intentions. It wasn't about who's good and who's bad. It was the pure capabilities of the technology that can be used for both good and by bad actors, but for evil, for nefarious purposes. And during the testimony, one of the congressmen said something roughly equivalent to, Mr. Schwartau, can you tell this committee why the bad guys would ever want to use the internet? And that was the only question really that didn't stump me, but it threw me back, because to me it was so incredibly obvious that all technology throughout history has been used for the purpose of the storyteller, whoever is telling the story. And in the case of cyber war, cyber terrorism, it was exactly the same thing. In the very, very early days, what could you do that was bad? And back in those days, it was computer viruses more than anything else. And that became the basis for the concepts of cyber war and information warfare with all the governments around the world.
Right. John, do you have a question at this point? Because you have a base of comparison, because you have a show on the network with Mac about cybersecurity.
Right.
I'm just curious.
It's called Cybersecurity Awareness TV, and Mac Jackson Jr. He's a professor out here and teaches cybersecurity and has a business. He's a business consultant as well for companies on how to protect yourself from cyber attacks, and it's extremely interesting. And I do want to bring up, because the big thing right now is AI, and there are all kinds of horror stories, and there are all kinds of positive stories, and I'm thinking that this is just like any other technology that we have developed in our history. There's a way for it to be used as a tool for good, and there's a way for it to be used for nefarious, intentions. Based on your experience, what do you see? How do you see us developing that? I mean, do you see that it's more? Is it as beneficial as some of us think it could be, or is it as detrimental as some of us think it could be?
Yes.
Okay, good answer. I like that. That's a John Stiles answer.
There you go. Multiple choice, one answer. Love it. Back at you, John.
It's even the technology media, who should know better, are overinflating both sides of the equation, because AI is not technically simple. It is exceedingly complex.
Right.
Yet when you take a very complex issue and try to bring it to the public, everybody uses FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, as to what is going to happen. You're going to lose your job. This is going to happen. You don't need to be a writer anymore. Artists are all going to disappear. And to a certain extent, there is going to be transition. But the latest transition, well, let's go back 40 years when the U.S. car manufacturing industry was in tatters, because we were still doing things, quote unquote, the old way, and Japan had leapfrogged ahead with automation. So we had 10 years of the K card, the disasters of the 80s, until things that they made the appropriate investments in early generation automation. We're doing the same thing today. Did jobs get lost? Yes. Were they replaced? Yes. And the thing that finally people are starting to recognize is that learning is a lifelong experience. It's not, you're not going to sit on and screw the same bolt into the same chassis for 45 years and get your gold watch. You're going to have to adapt to technological changes, regardless as to whether you're in the service industry, the manufacturing industry, or the knowledge industry. You're going to have to adapt. And perhaps that's the hardest thing for people, is to realize that they're going to have to adapt to things that are not exactly definable today, we don't know exactly what's going to happen, but one way or another, we know the future is coming, and you're going to have to adapt to it. You're going to have to learn to coexist with that technology in your professional and personal lives.
Yeah, it is a, you know, it's a way of life. I mean, look at the evolution of technology in itself. I mean, think of the first cell phone was a brick. Now we have phones that are small enough to fit in your pocket like a credit card. Technology is something that will always continue to strive and beat previous editions, so to speak. I want to go back. I mean, I watch the show Bar Rescue a lot, and these bar owners, when they're interviewed, they say, "Well, I've always wanted to own a bar." Many people don't wake up saying, "You know, when I grow up, you know, I'm 6 years old. When I grow up, I want to be a bar owner." They gradually get there. So, in your early career, before you got into all of this, and you have some 10, 11 books that are out there, all available on Amazon. If you look up Wynn's name, we're going to put his website up on a crawl here momentarily. You can see all the books. What were you doing before you got into the line of books now? I'm always curious about what people did before they got into the niche that they're most known for. What was Wynn like before all of this?
I was a recording engineer and producer.
Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha. So did you work with anybody famous?
Yeah, I worked with Lennon and Hendrix and Led Zeppelin and Sinatra. I mean, it was all, yeah, I had a very, very fortunate career. My father produced Bob Dylan, Peter, Paul, and Mary. Louis Armstrong taught me. I gave me my first trumpet lesson.
Wow.
So, yeah, I grew up in that whole world, and it was all technology. I was in it because of the tech.
Right.
And then I burned out, got out of music industry, and a few years later,
well, something had to have happened from that in that transition. I'm always looking for that aha moment that have people go in a direction that they do. So here you were in the entertainment field, and the names you shared, some of the greats ever in the singing world, right, in the entertainment world. What was that moment that happened that changed your direction besides being burned out from that and say, okay, I'm going to go down the cyber AI security highway here? There's always a reason people make that change into something. What was that incident?
It was in late '83, if I recall. A buddy of mine said, "Hey, what do you know about cybersecurity?" And I go, "What do I need to know?" And he goes, "My client, Western Digital, the big company, they got this security product and they want somebody to review it. Do you think you can handle that?" I go, "Of course I can." Nobody knew what security was. I mean, this is 40 years ago. And I looked at this thing that Western Digital had invented and they wanted to productize. And I said, "This is really great, except it sucks." And I wrote a business plan for it. And ultimately, they did not follow up on it. But that was the moment that it gave me the bug of, boy, this is cool stuff. I don't understand it. Nobody understands it. It's a fertile field, and I get to really geek out.
And it's probably a good thing that you didn't know or understand it, because you were able to get into it very fresh, you know, clean slate idea and approach to it, which probably lend itself to some fresh eyes looking at it as if saying, okay, if I were in this boat, this is what I would see. So I'm sure that was probably a big boon to those folks, even though they didn't use your business plan.
Which is fine. I'm good.
I was going to say, I think things worked out for you pretty well since then, right? For sure. So the new book, as we talked about, is out now on Amazon, The Art and Science of Meta War. Mm-hmm. You can go on to Amazon. My suggestion is you go on Amazon under authors and you look up Wynn's name, because he's got, like I said, a plethora. That's our word of the day around here, by the way, is the word plethora of books that are available out there that you've written, with the newest one. Now, it would appear, and looking at the titles of the books and going through them, it's almost like a chronology timeline of how the internet highway has changed over the years. Just looking at the titles, because you go from, and again, I'm just going to go based on your first book. And again, I'm assuming it's your first one based on how they're laid out here. Terminal Compromise, Computer Terrorism in the Network Society. Was that number one?
That was the first big book that I did. I did some small things before that.
Okay.
That was the first one where I really brought forth some of the ideas.
Gotcha. Okay, so from there, the ideas all the way up through Internet and Computer Ethics for Kids, which is still a book that should probably be handed out now forever and ever to kids as they come up. It just seems to be that it's almost the way your books came out, because you could not have written, I mean, you could have forecasted things as you did in your comments to Congress about how things would have changed and how we need to be protective. But it almost seems like your books follow the chronology as how the internet grew and changed over the years, and the ideas and thoughts that you had kind of grew and expanded with them. Would that be a fair comparison of thought?
You were the first person to ever make that comment, and it's actually, I'm kind of going internally. Wow, I really need to think about that. That was certainly not done intentionally.
Sure.
But when you a writer, especially in the tech field, and I was also practicing and designing and building stuff, you kind of try to write and talk about what you know or what you think you know, or to explore ideas. So yes, that's a really good way of looking at it. I think I'm going to steal that from you.
Please do, by all means. And just quote, as Aaron Phillips said. Woo! No, it's just, and it makes total sense, because like you said, you're going to talk about what you know, and essentially at that time what you know, because anything beyond that, you're forecasting and you're guessing and you're projecting. And I think looking at the titles of the books and the way that even just the progression seems like that your books and information kind of follow the same pattern up through today. Because now if you're including AI, and John and I were talking about it before you jumped in with us, before I went on the air, those people have Alexa or these voice computers or maps that you use in your phone. That's all AI generation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all around us, whether we want to believe it or not. My dad, God bless him, to get him finally off of the old flip phones for years. Oh yeah, it was a flip. We call that the Gibbs phone. For those NCIS fans, that's all carried, right? So to get my dad off of that, and all he wants to use is to make phone calls and maybe get a picture or two. But technology is going to keep going, good, bad, or indifferent, whether we like it or not. I mean, people now, because of the pandemic, look at the Amazon companies, how they blew up, and nobody walked out of that, did everything electronically. You go on the Facebook, if you had searched something on the web just before logging on to Facebook, all of a sudden you got an ad for that product on the right side of your Facebook page. When you log on, it just shows up, right? So this is how technology is intertwined. And I think that is probably the trap that I think you're alluding to, as to how cyber warfare can happen, because somebody's monitoring all this stuff and seeing what we do online.
It is, boy, you just hit it as to where the whole thesis, the MetaWar thesis, is about. It's about coexistence between technology, silicon life forms, if you will, us, carbon life forms. How do we get these systems to work together well? And we don't. They are completely different systems. And MetaWar, the Art and Science of MetaWar, looks at what is reality? Who is creating your reality? Why do you reach for your phone 300 times a day? Do you know that Silicon Valley will not fund new projects that are not highly addictive by definition? So we have a nation where we have addiction has been endorsed as part of our financial system. Results of it be damned. I mean, would you give your 6-month-old a pacifier that has a little bit of cocaine in it?
Not if I didn't. Well, John may have tried it, but I wouldn't. I mean,
I'm saying your 6-year-old, your 8-year-old kid.
No, I know.
Yet people will give
their
8-year-olds a phone, that has a like button. When that like button gets clicked either by them or by one of their friends, alleged friends, there is a chemical released in the brain that does the same thing cocaine does.
Really? That's the endorphin stuff or whatever?
The first hit is serotonin, then it goes dopamine, and then it works its way through various chemical processes. Wow. So we are creating an entirely addicted population, not only in the US, but certainly around the world, that is so reliant upon the technology. He who controls the technology controls the narrative. And that becomes the really scary part. Because
Now,
right now, can I, can the
Right.
10-year-old turn off that positive feedback loop which creates digital addiction? No, we can't.
No.
Because politicians haven't had the chutzpah to take care of it. And if Zuckerberg and company did implement something like this, it would cost them a whole bunch of money to do the
Sure.
right thing.
Sure. All right. On that note, we're going to step aside for our last break of the show. When we come back, I want to ask Win about whether there's a way if people at home can protect themselves from some of this, what we can do. Plus, I've been kind of lax and wanting to ask Win some of my fun questions, and I can eagerly await throwing some of those at him. And maybe John will have a question or two instead of just looking cute on camera. You're watching Aaron's Hour. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for someone to provide training to your staff? Do you need a motivational speaker about how to handle change? Do you have an upcoming event that needs an MC to handle those responsibilities? Well, look no further than longtime Las Vegas radio personality Aaron Phillips. I am local to Las Vegas and I can blend my talents with any audience. For more information, please visit www.aaronphillipsvoice.com and book me for your next event or training needs.
Are you feeling overwhelmed or stressed? Remember to take a moment for your mental health. At the Mental Health Moment, we believe in the power of self-care and community support. Our mission is to encourage and empower individuals across generations to prioritize their mental well-being. Our program called CARE takes you through community, awareness, resources, and education so we can support you every step of the way. Join us at the Mental Health Moment. Visit our website or follow us on social media because your mental health matters. Remember, take a moment for your mental health.
All right, welcome back to Aaron's Hour with Aaron Phillips, coast to coast. My guest today, Win Shortow, is here. He is an author and also very entertaining. I could sit and I know you do a lot of presentations and talks, Win, because I saw some of the videos. Man, I could just sit and listen. You have a voice for radio too, by the way. The Art and Science of Meta War and how to coexist with AI-driven reality distortion, disinformation, and addiction to metaverse. It is available now on Amazon, or check him out on his website, which was running on the crawl, Win, W-I-N-N, Shortow, S-C-H-W-A-R-T-A-U. It's right there under his picture.com for all the links and everything. Now, during the break, I got a message that Win has a question for me. So go ahead. Let's see what you got.
During your opening bit, something flew by on the screen, and I wasn't clear as to its reference. Something about the corner of 57th Street in Manhattan.
John, why did you put the corner of 57th Street in Manhattan in there?
I have no clue what the hell he's talking about.
Then we're going to just move on, and we're
Wait,
gonna,
Wait. Was this in the intro?
Or was that in the
No,
Vegas?
it was in the intro. It was in the intro.
The show intro.
Yeah.
Okay, why did you put that in there? It flashes by.
I didn't put it in there. It was already in there.
Oh, probably because I'm from Jersey. My wife was from the Bronx originally. My daughter works on Broadway, so maybe it was just a little montage to Manhattan to my daughter.
Oh, no, it was funny because then you bring up the recording question, and it was so much of my career was on 57th Street.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, no, it was just coinkydink.
Okay, fair enough.
It was a coinkydink. So,
Actually, this is just a simulation. So
right, we're not here.
We're not here. You're creating all of this yourself.
That's correct.
That is probably more likely than not.
I'm a huge sci-fi fan, and a lot of what's happening today basically was kind of predicted in some of Isaac Asimov's books, especially the Robot series, and how technology such as this was taking over our lives to the point where there was almost no human interaction between people. It was all done, in the cyberspace. So
I often reference Asimov because people ask, as Aaron was asking about, what can people do about all this stuff? And I often go back to Asimov's 3 rules of robotics.
Yep.
And when it comes to AI,
We
Trust
need those
nothing.
3 rules.
Like, the first one is trust nothing,
Yes,
then verify.
right.
One of the others is with AI, make sure that there is a human in the loop making decisions, especially those that have life and death repercussions.
Yes.
There are very similar types of appropriate behaviors. And Aaron, one of the things that your audience and everybody should do, that we talk about schools, critical thinking and all, absolutely needed, absolutely, for all the reasons. The thing that is underplayed and rarely discussed is critical ignoring. So
Interesting.
critical ignoring. Let's say you're on one of your, somebody's on a social media page.
Okay.
The ads are ripping by and you got all this visual noise and it's all trying to, according to Silicon Valley, it's part of the attention economy, trying to get you to focus, take time, and we stay on the platform longer because it's going to make Facebook or Google or whoever more money. How do you avoid being affected by all of the visual noise that's coming at you? And that's critical ignoring.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a skill that is just as important as critical thinking. So for your audience, you got to cut down the noise.
Right.
Screw the noise. You got to see through it, and there are techniques to do this.
And there's the old saying, unplug every once in a while, right? Which is what you were alluding to about putting the phone down, or just take an hour without the phone or whatever it is, right?
I do it I try to do it more than I'm successful doing it.
See,
Well, I just ignore everything on the right side of my screen.
What'd you say?
I've got this tablet that I just hang up here.
Exactly. Yeah, but and you're right. I mean, what I do, I live on the internet. I mean, I'm always searching and talking, and if I leave my phone in another room, I feel like I've left my wallet at home when I'm in the car driving somewhere. It's just it's that umbilical cord. It really is that phone, that electronic stuff. And when you're on a plane for 5 hours and you can't connect, and then all of a sudden you land and the internet reconnects and your phone's blowing up with all your missed messages and emails and phone calls and ads, it's like, okay, give me a second. I just landed for.
Oh, I like the word that you use, word umbilical cord, because in many ways, and this is part of the sci-fi fear, are we parasites on technology? Because we can't let go.
Right.
Technology has addicted us because those who control the technology know how to addict us. This is not new science.
Right.
Very, very old science.
Right.
And now with the amplification and military terms, force multiplication,
right,
it's only worse. We know how to addict people very, very well.
Absolutely.
And that is what we're seeing in society today.
All right, before we start wrapping up here in about another 10 minutes, I'm going to throw some questions out at you right now that have nothing to do with anything at all other than just fun, silly questions. Top of the moment, spur of the moment answers to the questions. And
however, you will see this start popping up on your Facebook page later.
Yes, that's right. Exactly. All right, first question for you, Win. Who's your favorite actor of all time?
Jeez. Boy, I'm going to go with John Cusack for the moment.
Okay. How about favorite actress of all time?
Whoever played Judi Dench.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Okay. What is your all-time favorite movie? So that when it pops on your TV, streaming service, or whatever, you grab your favorite adult beverage, popcorn, and a significant other. You literally disengage from the world for 2 to 2.5 hours. Don't want to be disturbed. What movie is that for you?
Independence Day.
Sci-fi figures. Okay. Next. No, that was actually pretty awesome movie. What is your favorite music genre? Since you've been in the music profession,
my wife and I always talk about this. It lays between, it's pretty wide. Things from the 40s through the 70s. We'll just leave it at that, in that era.
Okay. So you're driving in your car. You had a red light. Windows are rolled up. You don't care what anybody's seeing inside. Your favorite all-time song that comes on the radio that you will start bebopping and singing and lip syncing and karaokeing to, and you don't care what anybody is seeing you look like. What song is that for you?
Disco Inferno.
I love it. Did you have the sparkly pants too? That's why the bell bottoms.
I had striped pants, a polka dot shirt.
Did you have the Afro wig?
And a Daniel Boone fringe jacket. And it was all supposed to be coordinated, but I'm colorblind. I am fashion blind. I am face blind. So these days I wear black.
There you Well, I was going to say your wife dresses you. That's what mine does.
So when we had to wear suits and ties and all that, everything was labeled. And it was one from column A, B, C, go with tie D3, go to column 4 for socks.
Like a Chinese food menu.
And that's what it was like. And then at one point I said, I'm not doing this anymore. And I went to sheer black because any color can be used to accent black.
Especially, and when you're dealing with cybersecurity and sci-fi, everything's in black anyway. So you got to have that Men in Black look.
Man in Black, yeah.
Right? I mean, the dark. You walk on, like I can see you walking on stage in a black suit, a white dress shirt, thin black tie, black glasses, and you take something out of your pocket that looks like that light thing that they use to blank. I can see you walking out like that.
The neuralizer.
Exactly. All right. Working with John is a neuralizer for me. But anyway, what is favorite vacation spot that you haven't been to that you'd like to go to?
Mallorca.
Okay. What is your all-time favorite car that you'd like to see parked in your driveway someday under the auspice that you don't already have it?
Oh shit! I already have it.
All right. So what is it? If you already have it, what is it?
It's a 2004 Mazda dual turbo rotary RX-8.
Nice. By the way, John, make note. He said shit once. That's it. He's off limits now. He gets cut off. He got his one. Right. You got your one. I love it. All right. A couple more, and then we'll get back to wrapping up about the book and where people can reach out to you. What is your favorite meal, top to bottom, starting with appetizer?
I'm just going to go big and say sushi because it is so big. It is such a big menu that you can put under that. So I'll go with Japanese sushi-based food, and you can build that menu any way you want
to. All right,
stay under that domain.
John, go ahead.
I've got a question for you. Have you read any of Dan Brown's books?
Mm-hmm.
Have you read The Digital Fortress?
Yeah, I hated him for it.
Don't hold back,
that's exactly what I thought you would say.
Yeah, don't hold back.
What is the particular reason that you hated him for that book? Because he oversimplified everything?
Technical inaccuracies.
Yeah, okay.
It was a takeoff on my book called PearlHarbor.com.
Oh, okay. I got to check that out then.
Which became Die Hard 4.
It's by the way, PearlHarbor.com is still available on Amazon, according to the website. You can also, I don't think you can get it for Kindle, but it is available on paper.
No, it's Kindle. It's free on Amazon Prime.
Oh, there you go. See, I have the website up. I got all titles right there for you. So what kind of books do you read, aside from the sci-fi, cyber stuff that you write? What do you read for enjoyment?
I read, somebody asked me this on a talk show in Vegas I did about a year ago. And my answer through them, I like watching Victorian era reading Victorian era female detective stories.
Wow, that's pretty specific. That's good, but that's a departure from what you write about.
They're very linear, easy, relaxing stories that put you in a different time, put you into a different reality that you can still relate to intellectually. Say, okay, Victorian stuff and what have you. And I spent a fair amount of time in Europe, and I love just walking around some of those areas, especially in London, where the Victorian era stuff. And when I go to a restaurant or a pub or what have you, I gravitate towards those kind of environments.
Right on. Two last questions of these, and then we'll get to wrapping up about the book. Number one, favorite superhero, Batman or Superman?
Oh, boy. All right, Superman.
Well, that'll do it for Wynn's appearance today. All right. The last question I have in that series is a relatively serious one. When the day comes that you're at the pearly gates and the maitre d' is there to welcome you through the pearly gates, what is it you want to hear them say to you as you enter?
Wait, I have to answer this for him.
Go ahead.
What's your password?
Oh, no. Did you really go there, John?
I did. I'm sorry, Wynn. Go ahead.
For that alone, you're going the other way. I'm telling you. Right?
Oh, hell, I knew that already.
All right, Wynn.
So they're asking me, or am I asking them?
No, what is it you want to hear from them to tell you as you're walking through the gates?
That I made a positive difference on the world.
There you go. That's what with the topic that you're covering and writing about, you certainly are. That's for darn sure. All right. So let's talk about the book again real quickly, called The Art and Science of Meta War: How to Coexist with AI-Driven Reality Distortion, Disinformation, and Addiction to the Metaverse. So my question to you is this: after someone buys the book and they are finished and they put it down, what is the message you hope your readers are going to get out of reading this book?
I hope that they go through the first internal processing of what I call pause. And humans do not pause enough. We react. We don't think enough. We operate based upon our primal instincts. Humans were built to survive. Lions and tigers and bears, oh my. We were not designed to survive technology. We were not built to coexist with technology. That is a man-made artifact. And people need to take a moment, sit back and pause, stop the knee-jerk reactions, and build in a pause button to their automatic processes in order to come up with a more cogent, rational response versus knee-jerk reactions.
I got to ask, is there another book after this in writing already in draft form?
According to my wife, absolutely not.
Well, there you have it. His name is Wynn Shartau. Wynn, WINNSCHWARTAU.com. All the information about his book. Now, if people want to reach out to you, I know you do presentations and speaking. Is the website the best place to get a hold of you?
If they can't find me, I don't need to talk to them. I'm too easy to find.
I was going to say, if they can't find you, you don't exist, right? Is that what we're really saying here?
I don't have business cards. I'm out there.
There you go.
Please find me.
There you go. By the way, John's favorite character on Star Trek is Data, if you can imagine. I mean, come on now. That epitomizes everything, doesn't it?
Hold on.
It's too bad you don't have that pic. We're in your other.
I do right here.
Oh, cool.
Oh, there you go.
Wait, that's not one of the little Russian dolls, is it? Oh, no,
it's a USB stick called
that's a
Data.
USB. Okay, cool. That's
Called
awesome,
Data.
dude.
He has this Data USB
that's
port.
brilliant.
Love it. Love
That's
it. I have a
brilliant.
Batman one. How come you don't go crazy like that over my Batman one that I have like that?
I've never liked Batman past the TV series.
Well, that's okay. Adam West is the only true Batman.
All right, if we want to say Batman from Kapow days, I'll go with you.
Well,
but as soon as they took it seriously, it's too dark for me. That's why I wrote a Victorian women film.
Wynn, if you ever come to Virginia Beach, I'll bring you to my home studio. You'll see why I love Batman. Here, wait. Let me. I don't know how well it'll show up, but here's the back of my phone.
Ah, okay, the original and the Boy Wonder.
That's right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Wynn, thank you again for coming on.
Thank
I
you.
like this. We'll talk after we go off air for a moment or two, so don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching this week. Next week's show, I'm bringing on a gentleman from Las Vegas, Sam Kirby. He's a realtor out there. We're going to talk about the real estate market in Las Vegas, how it's rebounded after all the stuff that's been going on with the pandemic and building and not building and the A's and the Raiders and all that stuff. So join me next week with Sam. Great guy will be on. Of course, John will be there with me pushing all the buttons. Right, John? No matter how much you get away, I still bring you back. With that, everybody, as I always like to say, be kind to everybody. Why? We are all we have, and we'll see you next time right here on Aaron's Hour with Aaron Phillips, Coast to Coast. Thank you for watching.